All right, lads, welcome back to another episode of Who's Got the Ball. Myself and Shane here back once again. Shane is absolutely buzzing the Champions League is back, aren't you, Shane?
Yeah, you're not being sarcastic for a change like you were in the summer. I am. We're back to having football 7 days a week almost, with the odd Monday game as well. We have the League of Ireland on Fridays as well. So great to have Champions League Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and it really didn't disappoint to start this week off anyway with Juventus and Dortmund playing the most boring first half of football and saying, okay, that's enough of that. Let's go out and just cause havoc and finishing 4-all. And some of the goals in
I
that
tell you,
game were
with the
just
equalisers.
outrageous. Yeah, I think it's a really harsh handball, but not as harsh as the one that was given to Madrid against Marseille. But
Yeah, that was
Yildiz's goal
ridiculous.
is sick. Yeah, Yildiz's goal is sick. But yeah, go back to the handball for a second. It's an absolute joke. What else he meant to do?
I know.
Like when the Liverpool got the VAR last night on the potential handball, I was like, if they give that, I might actually have to give up on knowing what a handball is because it's hit his chest,
Yeah,
basically hit his face, and then kind of brushed his hand. I was like, to give that, I'd give up. But Liverpool got over the line, doing what they do, what they're going to continue to do all season, scoring in the 90 plus minute with Ngamoa on the pitch just for fun.
wasn't
I
having.
just love the Champions League and another 7 games of it. Listen, another 7 game weeks of it left.
Yeah, it's going to be great. And I think it'll be good as well to see Forest and Palace in the other European
Oh,
competitions.
yeah,
It'll be pretty
definitely.
cool as well. Palace coming to Ireland,
Especially when they,
which is going to be great. Play Shells. But yeah, just a couple of things to shout out before we get into the rundown. We're doing a new segment on Twitter every day to keep the account, something to give to you all. We're doing Jot, is what we're calling it, Jot Sports. So just one thing sports. We're giving a thought each every day, just of what's happened recently, and we want to hear your thoughts on those. We want to get you replying and get you sharing those around. So, give us a follow over there and keep an eye on those because they're coming every day. And then it's another thing I've started doing is starting the week with a tenner and trying to bump that up as the week goes along. We're not exactly doing a rollover, so like usually sometimes people do 10 on something. If they win 20, they'll throw the 20 on the next thing. We're going to change it up with seeing what opportunities come up throughout the week. So this week we started off with a good win, two good wins back to back. Obviously then on Wednesday was we had a close one, but back again tonight. So if you have been seeing those, keep an eye on them. We are up to 25 for this week, and we're hoping to keep that driving up. I'm gonna change it. It has been on TikTok, but TikTok isn't great with putting out if you mention sports gambling. So we're gonna throw that over onto the Instagram page for the podcast. So keep an eye on those. I'll do breakdowns on my ideas for them. And then let's get into what we talked about this week. It was a packed episode, some really good stuff. We introduced a new segment um, for the Premier League. Shane brainstormed this one as a really good idea to kind of come back every week to something that we were really impressed with from the week before, or the team that was kind of the most impressive performance from the weekend before in the Premier League. So we touched on one of those. We'll leave that until you get into the episode to see what it is. We previewed the three big games then for the weekend: Merseyside Derby, United and Chelsea, and Arsenal versus City on Sunday. We moved then on to the NFL, talked about the Chiefs and Texans both having an 0-2 start. Where do they go from here? Are they just cursed, or what's going on here? Are they able to turn this thing around? Then moving into Gun Chance, where I took a 1-0 lead from last week, very narrow lead. We gave our three picks then each for
finally,
this week.
I think it's your first lead.
Oh, yes. Here we go. Let's just end it now. Then NBA previews continued. We're into the Western Conference now. The Thunder, last year's champs, the Blazers, and Timberwolves. And then we moved on to the power rankings to wrap up last. And the power rankings police are at Shane's door as we speak. So listen to the end
Yeah,
to find out why that is.
well, lads.
Let's get straight into the episode, lads. All right, let's start with a new little thing where we're going to talk about like the performance of the weekend or of the last game week for the Premier League. So, Shane, let's let you kick this one off since it was your bit of brain work that got this one going. So, I think you want to focus on Brentford and how they played against Chelsea for the first one.
Yeah, so it's one of the few games where the stats really don't tell the story of the game because judging off the stats, and if you were just looking at the stats, you'd think Chelsea dominated this from start to finish, but they really didn't. I thought Brentford were absolutely exceptional in the first half. Particularly defensively. he then just got the tactics down to a T. He went back to the old kind of Thomas Frank style of the 3-5-2, and it worked wonders. Igor Thiago was absolutely brilliant up top. Collins was excellent in the centre defence. Keller didn't put a foot wrong, bar maybe the second goal. He was a bit onside on it though, so it's probably very harsh to give him a bit of any criticism on that. But I just thought they were brilliant up until the Palmer goal. Then Chelsea kind of took over for 20 minutes, got their two goals, got the lead. But the way they never gave up is something I really didn't see them having this season.
Yeah,
I obviously backed them to go down at the start of the season. They were one of my three. There's so many I'd love to go back and change on that now that we're 4 or 5 games in. Obviously, we can't do that. But I just think I thought they were exceptional. I think they've been really solid, bar a couple of poor performances. But other than that, they're true in the cup. Great point here against Chelsea. Like their set pieces are always going to be dangerous. I thought with Thomas Frank going that they might kind of dull a bit, but that throw in from Kevin Chada to get the second goal was outrageous. It was right into the heart of the box. Fell nicely for the man who wasn't marked, basically, because Garnacho doesn't mark, apparently. I just thought they were brilliant start to finish, and they were very, very worthy of their point.
yeah, I think they definitely deserved it. The first goal was nice. I thought the like little after they won the ball back, they had a nice little interworking set of passes in midfield before Henderson played that
Mm,
ball over the top, and then a good finish going through on goal. I know it did take a bit of a nick, but it was still, he had the right intention of what he wanted to do with it.
mm,
I think Shada is going to be important for them this season.
big time.
For multiple reasons. So he kind of needs to step up. But Igor Thiago is very good. I think he had the injury last year. I think they were expecting him to come in a lot more than he did, but now he's really stepped into that. I think Kelleher was important because that save on George in the first half and then the one on Palmer in the second half was really important to kind of keep the game at bay, as Chelsea were pushing on. And then Chelsea did get a goal, but instantly there was that chance right after the first goal where Bournemouth could have got one back. And then obviously Chelsea go 2-1 up, as you said, and they showed that fight. I think losing to Forest on the opening weekend seems like a million miles away from now. Like they've come a long way even from there. I think it was a little bit unsettled with the Wissa situation, I think, at the time. And now that that has been cleared up, since then they only lost to Sunderland. And in that game, they kind of caught them on the hop late. And Sunderland have looked pretty good so far. So, won't take that away from them. And to beat, as you said, they're through in the Cup. They've beaten two teams now in the Cup, both in the Premier League. So to beat Bournemouth, who are flying this year, and then to beat Villa on
Mm,
penalties, it bodes very well. And they did have more XG than Chelsea in that game, even though they only had 4 shots on target. It shows that they were efficient at what they had, and having Andrews still there as a set piece coach from last year surely helps with these long throws. So I think
yeah, they,
all in
they
all,
brought
they've
in a
been
new set
impressive.
piece coach as well, who's Irish, which is good to see as well. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but I think he's from Cork. And he's come in now to take over the set pieces. So that's a real positive as well. You'd just love to see him do well. I think Shada and Thiago, while they probably won't get as many goals as Vincent and Bueno did last year, they definitely have a chance to build a relationship as good as that in the next 2 or 3 years. And then Carvalho coming off the bench and scoring will do wonders for his confidence as well. And he could very easily slip into that front two if they needed him to. He's
Yeah,
pacey, he's
with
direct, so
her
he'll
as
kind of
well, looking good. He looked
yeah.
lively.
Yeah, I've been really impressed with him. As you said, the business situation probably did patch him cold towards the start of the season, but now he's gone. They can kind of say, okay, this is what we have till January at least, and we can go from here. And to be fair, they've looked really, really good. I think their back three looks solid. I know they've
Mm.
conceded 7 goals in the 4 games, which isn't ideal, but they're kind of building a relationship there at the back. Having Rico Henry back after missing most of last season as well with the ACL is so important because he's such a big player for him. Or was it? No, it was Ethan Pinnock, sorry, that missed
Enoch, yeah.
the majority of last season.
He's such a
Seth van
rocket.
den Berg, yeah, Seth van den Berg is coming on leaps and bounds every week as well. And Collins, obviously, their captain, is like a different man to the one we saw playing for Ireland. But we touched enough on that last week. But yeah, what I'm really happy with him. Really happy, really good to see him. And it's really good to see how well they're playing, and hopefully they can continue.
Yeah, I think it's good to have the Irish representation there of a team that's actually doing very well. And Collins is the captain, Kelleher looks good, and then they've got a lot of Irish coaches, as you said, including the head coach in Andrews. So I think, yeah, it's really positive, and hopefully they keep it up because they do look solid. And even though they're not like for like replacements in terms of, you would say, talent, Henderson looks to have filled that Norgard role, and
Mm.
Shada, Ouattara, and Thiago have collectively seemed to fill that Wissa and Mbeumo role for now. So I think, yeah, good stuff so far from them. But looking ahead then to this weekend, we've got some very, very big games. Starting the weekend at 12:30 on Saturday, we've got Liverpool versus Everton, the Merseyside Derby. Very big one. Liverpool winning with a lot of very late goals so far this season. Not good for
All
your heart
late
rate, I
goals.
think. So let's see this weekend, will it go down to the wire again? You would say that it seems like that's the script for a lot of their games, and Everton will look to be hard to break down. So you could see if something is going to come, it might come late. What's your thoughts on this one?
I think it's a really tough one to call. I'm a far more confident now as after last night, the Atletico Madrid game, than I was heading into it before that game. I thought last night they looked a lot more like themselves, just missed a couple of big chances. A couple of things just didn't fall for Wirtz, the Frimpong air shot. There were a couple of chances to have that game well wrapped up before they got it back to 2-2. Um, just I thought they were really good last night. It was a real show of strength from 'em, I think. I thought Isak was excellent in his 55 minutes. I don't think he'll start Saturday. I think Klopp said something that if he starts 45, if he plays 45 against Atletico, don't expect him to play 45 against Everton as well. So Ekitike will be back in. They're two really good strikers. Ekitike had a chance at the end of that game last night to wrap it up
Yeah,
as well.
I don't
So
know how you missed that one.
I think it's the bounce catches him. It bounces up to him just as he's
Yeah,
about to
but
hit it.
still, you
So
need
it
to
and now
bury that.
it is absolutely it's gilt edge. Like you do have to be scoring it, but I'll give him the mitigation on it. But I just thought Salah looked back to himself last night. Frimpong was brilliant. I thought
Yeah,
defensively and defensively. The midfield last night looked really well balanced. Getting Sabazai back in there. Obviously
yeah, it made a
McAllister's
big
come back in
difference.
for someone. Massive difference, yeah. He's just a workhorse. I didn't think last night was his best performance, but he was still the man who put the ball in for Van Dijk's header. He was just all over the place. Ryan Gravenberch, I could talk about him for months. I think he's absolutely unreal. His first touch, get him out of tight situations, is incredible. For Everton, they've obviously had a really good start. They're definitely top of the like having the most fun league at the moment with the likes of Grealish, Ndai. Kieran and Dewsbury Hall, they just have some really good players. And you were saying there that they might try and they might try and be hard to break down. But when they're attacking so well, I don't think they can get away with just sitting 11 men behind the ball like Burnley did and hoping for the best. I think they are going to need to have a goal here and see if they can go out and win it at Anfield.
Yeah, I don't think that they're gonna be overly attacking from the start. I just think that Moyes is too astute of a manager. Like he knows
Mm,
by now. I still think they're gonna attack. I think it's just gonna be more counter attack because now they actually have the ability to do that a lot
mm.
more effectively with players like Enjoy on the counter attack is absolutely lethal. So if they can get the ball in behind to him, or you can get Grealish down the wing with a cross, that's probably their best bet of scoring. I see them like kind of frustrating Liverpool. I could see them managing to get a counter attack goal themselves and being 1-0 up. And I think there will be a late goal, but I can see it being a Liverpool goal to tie it this time instead of to win it. So I'm going to go with 1-1 because I think Liverpool inevitably do have more talent, but just all these games coming down to the wire, I think one of them is not going to go your way eventually. And I think this could be 2 points dropped, but still something gained late on with an equaliser. And another thing I will say is Verts does need to be part of a goal now, get an assist or get a goal, because the longer this goes on, it's going to get into his head more and you start overthinking things. So it
Yeah.
needs to be
Yeah,
something that's put on paper.
yeah, he was robbed last night of a couple of assists by some really poor finishes. The one Salah puts
Yeah,
onto
the
the
Salah
post
one. Yeah.
is outrageously bad. But he created five chances last night. So, sorry, five big chances. So, five chances that led to a shot.
Hmm.
I don't know how much more you can do in a game if you can't. So, if you're getting shots off on five of his passes and that's we're not really testing the keeper, Salah has to score that one and put the game to bed as well. It's another really poor miss. I thought he was excellent last night. I thought he was really good in the second half against Burnley. I think he's coming into his own now. It would be great if he got his first goal against Everton. I have
I
gone
thought
2 in
against Burnley,
Liverpool.
to
I
be
think
honest,
Diop's
he wasn't overly impressive. He was frustrated at a lot of times. I think he
I
didn't he
thought he was
was
good in the second half.
I thought he was kind
First
of
half, I
a
thought
lot
Snom was
quite
good.
flustered. Looked like a lot of players were, but he wasn't really given an over like too much time. I mean, for the price that's paid, you can create all the big chances you want, and you can blame other players. But it's time to start delivering now with goals and assists.
Yeah, it is also he is also only 5 games into a new league and new country as well. So I'll start
We're
judging him
looking at
after 10 or
we're looking
15.
at how many in total between Community Shield, these games, Champions League. We're
Six
creeping up
games.
on.
So if
So
you're
this
yeah,
weekend we're looking
but
at the 007 if he doesn't get it in. So although
well,
we won't see that on Sky because they'll milk Liverpool to the
if
ground as usual, so it's okay.
if you want to talk about if you want to include the Community Shield, then he does have an assist. So you might want to go back to your six
Or did
games
he
there if
grab
you
one
want
on that?
to be
Yeah,
looking
we'll
at the
go
getting the
back to that.
007.
Yeah,
Okay, perfect.
but to be
Grand,
fair,
yeah. I'm going
you have
2
to
nil
make the
Liverpool here
point
anyway.
because all your sign like Ekatika has been outstanding and playing. If you claim 45 good minutes against Burnley, and now yes, he was impressive last night, but the amount of space Atletico gave him, you won't get that in the Premier League. I'm just saying
Yeah.
he needs to perform in the Premier League. You do need to take off the Liverpool tinted glasses on this one because he is struggling in the Premier League and he
Oh,
needs to
there's no
start
denying
putting
that,
pace on
sure.
it.
Even Klopp said when he took him off against Arsenal that he got a real eye opener to the Premier League. Did I call it? What did I call him?
Flop twice today. You're
Oh,
yearning
oh
for him
God.
back, is it?
No, absolutely not. Slot does need to. Sorry, Slot did say that he had to take him off because he literally ran out of gas. So that's not a good start. I think the reason Liverpool will win this game is because of the game we're going to talk about in a few minutes, Arsenal City. If Liverpool win, they go 6 points ahead of Arsenal, 9 points ahead of City, and they can't both close the gap on them in that game. So it would be such a big 3 points. And I know it's 5 games gone. It's ridiculous to say it, but it would be a massive 3 points in terms of title race when you have those two playing against each other. You really do need to picking up points those weekends for their main rivals they're playing against each other.
Yeah, it does. I think every point early is big because if you can build up a big lead early, it's easier to defend that than it is when you're confident. If you're not confident, it's a lot harder to defend it. You prefer to be
Yeah,
chasing, but they are confident, so I think building up a lead is better. Whereas maybe Arsenal, they might prefer to chase a little bit because it doesn't seem like they would have the guile to see it out.
yeah. If they
It's
were eight
just
points ahead, you wouldn't really back them.
yeah, so no, I think we will see a lot from Verse because I really liked him, and I said at the start of the season he was one of the best signings that was coming through this summer. But he just does need to deliver for his own sake because otherwise these things are going to get pushed more onto him. But what are you going to go with the final score? I'm going with
Uh,
1-1,
2 Liverpool.
2-0. Okay, so let's move on then to the half five game. There's some cracking games this weekend. Half five
Yeah,
game on Saturday is Man United versus Chelsea. United have performed in small bursts this season, like for 20 minutes at a time, half an hour at a time, and then sloppy defending, silly mistakes, just misplaced passes, and they capitulate. That's a lot down to, I think it's not going to solve everything, but if Manu did start, it would make the world of difference. Every minute he's played this season, they just look more together as a team because he's calm and he's able to take the ball in half spaces. I think if Cunha plays, it'd be a big one as well because he's been
mm,
impressive at the start of the season. So those two, I weigh a lot on that. If Manu starts, I could see them getting something from this game. If he doesn't, I think by the time they bring him on, it'll be out of reach.
mm.
Garnacho, quite funny in the game versus Brentford because he put that cross in for Caicedo's goal, but it took a massive clearance before it got to Caicedo and Chelsea fans were acting like he set the goal up, and then he was completely out of place for that defensive, as you mentioned already, on the long throw in. So I think I'd like to see him start this game and someone leave one on him early, just
See how he
because of the
reacts.
way he had acted leaving and going out the door. It's very petulant behaviour by him in general. But looking on the positive side for Chelsea, Pedro looks absolutely superb. I was impressed with him last night against Bayern, even though Chelsea could have got clattered in that game. They were lucky they didn't get
Yeah,
beaten
should
by
have
more.
by all accounts.
And Palmer as well. He looks back from his best back to his best after that injury he had. So I think they're there to be caught on the press because they make sloppy mistakes in defense, but going forward they're blistering. So I think on a short week, looking at them having to play on Wednesday in Bayern and then come and play against United on the Saturday, I think it's a tough ask for them. And they haven't won in Old Trafford since 2013, so this is one of the only fixtures United can continuously get something out of. But what's your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought up the Kobe Mainu starting at the first, because that was my main point was if they do start Bruno as the eight here beside Casado, then they're literally looking for trouble because Chelsea's midfield will just walk all over him with Casado and Enzo Fernandez and whoever else plays in there with him. It was Reece James last night, which
Didn't
didn't
look
work too
very
well,
good.
so I doubt it'll be that again. I think Bruno is one of the tens. I just said if Cunha's back, so if it was like Bruno, Cunha, and Embuemo, who has
Yeah.
been kind of United's main shining light this season, in my opinion. I think he's been really, really good. Other than that, like I just think this is a game that is going to flatter to deceive. I think it's going to be either Chelsea could absolutely walk away with it, United could nick it. It could be a nil-all draw. It's one of those games where you don't know what it's going to be, but none of it sounds overly interesting. So we'll have to wait and see. And that point, I think this is the game where Chelsea, if they're going to try and finish top three or top four, they really need to show us in a game like this. Um, if United win this, then it kind of depends on how they win it. It could be a good bit of momentum going forward because I don't think they have had too much of that this season. Not playing Europe at any in any kind of capacity. I don't know if it's going to help them or hinder them because wouldn't you love an all Conference League game against Kazakhstan at home to score a couple of goals, build a bit of confidence, and see where you can go
Yeah.
from there. But we don't have it now, so we'll have to wait and see. I thought they were poor against City, but the fullbacks just couldn't cross the ball. So how are the forwards meant to do anything when they can't get anywhere near the ball? So that's a problem for them as well.
The time against City, the time when they were actually playing well, they looked very good, and then it just went straight back to the same issues as before, like the silly mistakes, and then everyone's head is dropping, which
Yeah,
is yeah, just not acceptable. I thought Dorgu in the second half was exceptional. He got into great position. He obviously was drilled to do that in the second half. And Mbuemo was good. Some great saves from Donnarumma showed why he was brought in. But outside of that, I wasn't really impressed with anybody at all. I thought they were all quite poor. So it's going to have to be a big jump from that. I just think just because of the long run record of Chelsea at Old Trafford and also because of Chelsea playing on Wednesday, I'm going to go with a draw. I don't think United are going to win, so I'm going to take 2-2 as my result.
yeah, I backed a draw here as well. I've gone 1-1.
Okay,
Um,
yeah. I think
it
it's
wouldn't
most
surprise me
likely,
if it
to be honest.
was. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if it was 4-1 to Chelsea either. But I do think, as you said, Joe, Chelsea are back-to-back poor results. Brentford and Bayern heads probably dropped a little bit. They're still a very young team, so we'll see if they come out firing here, then it could be anything really. But I just don't
Mm.
see it happening.
Like you said, it's a big one for them if they do want to finish
Mm.
high because you need to be taking down United, especially the way they're playing at the moment. So, last one then of the weekend, the big one is Arsenal versus City on Sunday. So, this is the big game at 4:30. What you make of this?
City are going to want revenge after last year's humiliation. They're. I just don't see Gyökeres or whatever is we like to call him now. I don't see him getting anywhere near in this game. The same as against United, the same as against Liverpool. I think he'll have another quiet game and come off after an hour, unless Eze can do something really, really special. Haaland is ridiculous to start the season. He'll be a massive test for this Arsenal back four, especially if Saliba is not back as well. United are going to need to be so defensively switched on and try and play on the counter attack. But
Who? United.
sorry, Arsenal. God, Arsenal are going to try and play on the counter attack. This is a really tough one to call. I really think it is because I don't know how good City are. I don't know how good Arsenal are. City have been good at patches. Two really, really poor performances. Well, not even the performance against Brighton. The last half an hour against Brighton, they were awful. They were really poor from start to finish against Spurs, and then just show up against United and just turn it on. Now the early goal helped them as well, but Alan superb. Doku even looked like a footballer against United, which is saying a lot. And he's starting again tonight. I just saw there. So I don't know. I think it's a massive game. I'd love a draw for Liverpool's sake, especially if we beat Everton.
I think the extra 2 days recovery for Arsenal will come into this
Yeah.
because they did play a tough game in Bilbao in a very tough place to go, and they did get a good result, which I thought was solid. They'll have
Mm.
confidence after beating Forest too, but I just can't see. I don't know now. You guys will all know what the result in the game against Napoli is, like, but I cannot see City winning that. And if they do win, it's going to be scrape of one goal, and it's going to be tough. Napoli haven't lost in a competitive game since February, so I don't think it's going to be kind of a clean walk here for City in this game. I think they'll be tired after that. And I think Eze does make a big difference. Like you said, if Gyökeres is going to get a goal, it's going to be like a perfect, pin perfect Eze cross that leads to a tap in like he did at the. So I think I like Arsenal in this. I think City they beat United because they were tactically better than them, and other teams did not allow them to beat them because of the midfield dominance. So what City did against United was they loaded everyone into the midfield, and United didn't make any tactical adaptation to it. They just allowed the midfield to get overrun, and then City were like pressing really high because they're kind of combating what had happened earlier. If you press Arsenal really, really high, they're absolute experts at getting out of a high press and switching the ball to the other side or creating an overload. And they're not going to boss around Arsenal's midfield. So I just don't see what they have that could trouble Arsenal like they did at United. So I'm going with 2-0 Arsenal here. I think they're the better team from what we've seen so far this season.
I think City are going to need to go with Rodri and Nico in this game. If they're going to have any hope in the midfield battle, they need the two of them in there winning balls back. As you said, if they try and high press, Arsenal just going to put it over the
But
top.
they will try and high
Matic,
press because this is like their new thing to try and
system.
stop how bad they were earlier in the season. But it's dangerous, I
Mm,
think.
yeah, it is massively. Madueke, I'll give him his flowers for a change. I thought he was excellent against Forest. He made the pitch really, really wide. Came up against probably Nico O'Reilly or whoever they played left back there. He's gone back to his four centre back nonsense again with Kushinov at right
Mhm.
back. So
Yeah.
Kushinov against Eze and Madueke against O'Reilly just isn't really
Yeah, you'd fancy
confidence
that if you're
builder for
Arsenal.
anyone. Yeah, I nearly fancy running at Nico O'Reilly or Kushinov myself, to be honest. I've also gone Arsenal in this. Arsenal 2-1. I think
Okay.
Haaland is going to keep up his goal scoring runs because he's just a machine. But this is a game where Arsenal could really be brought back to earth here. If Man City get an early goal, they could blitz them. So we'll have to wait and see. I think Arsenal need to be switched on for the first half an hour and then try and nick one from a set piece or something, which they're very good at doing, obviously, and
Mhm.
kind of build on that then. But I am going to go Arsenal 2-1 in this.
Nice. So those are our predictions and also kind of breakdowns for those games. So obviously everyone will be locked in, glued to the couches this weekend. I think there's a lot of good matches on, and then
Yeah,
the NFL too, which is a real, yeah, great lineup for the weekend ahead.
yeah. There's two things. I was trying to pick a last man standing team today, and I nearly tore all my hair out. And then trying to do gun chance, looking at the NFL games, I was like, there's no massive underdogs here that have a hope of winning. So we'll get on
Yeah.
to that after we talk about the NFL. But this was the hardest gun chance weekend of all time, and probably the hardest last man standing pick of all time. I ended up having to go with Liverpool, so
Oh,
they
yeah.
better
I
do the
think
job.
it's probably the safest looking at most of them this weekend. Although there
Yeah,
is a team I fancy, it would be a risky one, but we'll get to that in gun chance.
first.
So no, I'll
Oh,
let you know when we get there. So,
perfect.
speaking of the NFL, then let's move on. We're going to talk about two teams that started out 0-2, teams that are expected to do well, and teams that where can they go from here to get back on track. So, let's start with the obvious one in the Kansas City Chiefs. I think Mahomes has not been bad, but the Chiefs just look kind of stuck. They're still averaging 21 points per game, which is what they averaged the last two seasons and somehow got away with it. They've lost both of their first two games, both by a single score, having won single score games 17 times in a row before
Yeah,
this. I did say the streak was going to be broken, but I didn't think they'd do it back to back losses. That Kelsey drop in the Eagles game to allow the interception was huge. It made a massive difference to the outcome of the game. But overall, I just think their offensive line is probably not fully up to scratch. Mahomes doesn't look comfortable back there. And to have him as your leading rusher, 123 yards after two games, he's on pace for 1,000 yards. That is
yeah.
not good for the Chiefs. That is not what they want him to be doing. So I think that's the biggest issue of all, having looking through all of this. But what have you made of them in the first 2 weeks?
Yeah, so look, I was looking at it kind of objectively, and anyone can lose to the Eagles. Anyone can lose 2017 to the Eagles. Every single team in the league. The Bills could go out and lose to the Eagles, but it is their issue with the running backs. He clearly doesn't trust any of the running backs to hand it off and expect him to go and get 10 or 15 yards because he's doing it himself constantly over and over again. I think that's a massive issue. I think not having Rasheed Rice is also a big issue. Like his main receiver against the Eagles was Hollywood Brown with
Yeah.
5 catches, and it was only for 30 yards. Kelsey had 4 for 61, and obviously that massive drop, which he would have walked in for a touchdown if he holds onto it. I think they'll be okay, especially looking at their next five will really define their season as well with the Giants, the Ravens, the Jags, the Lions, and the Raiders.
Hmm.
Three very winnable games. I'm sorry to say it, but the Giants, the Jags, and the Raiders, they really should be winning those three. And then how they get on against the Ravens and the Lions, if they do win those other three, will really tell you if they're anywhere near to what they were last year. As you said, the offensive line just doesn't look right. People are getting through. There's so much pressure being put on him nearly all the time. And the
That's
Chargers
the
were
thing as
excellent
well with
against
the
them.
running. They he's like having to force to run. Like it's not even
Yeah.
designed runs. It's just scrambling, which is even worse.
Mm.
Like
And yeah, he's not the fastest. I know
not
he looks
anymore.
fast and he gets going, but he doesn't have his like he's not going to rip off a 50-yard run the way Josh Allen did against the Jets. Like I don't think he has that in him anymore. But he keeps picking up these first downs, and he's still so tempted to take the hit at the end and try and get the penalty flag, but he just steps out of play. Like
Yeah,
he can't do it anymore. It was his birthday yesterday. He's 30 now. He's on the wrong side of the hill. He's on my side of the hill now,
he's on my side
unfortunately.
of
But
it.
I think Rasheed Rice coming back will be a massive help for him because I think he does trust him. He's going to have to trust Pacheco again because I think Pacheco is a really good running back. I don't know
Yeah,
what. I know he was
he's just
injured
found
last
it
year, but
difficult to get back up and going. I think this year.
yeah, but I think you just need to play him back into form. Um, this weekend against the Giants, there's probably no better time than just give him 20 rushing attempts to try and get his 100 yards, whatever, and build a bit of confidence. The goal line, hand it off to him. Don't be trying to throw Hollywood passes to Hollywood or to Kelsey. Just try and just let Pacheco do what he did in his rookie year on the ground. Just slip past people and get a couple of touchdowns. I think the Chiefs are going to be absolutely fine. I don't see them having too many issues. I think they'll still get to their 11 wins. I think was the line when we were talking about it. I think they'll get there still.
I'm actually a little more worried for him because I think yeah I noted as well about Rasheed Rice coming back and Giants in New York this weekend is the perfect game to get right. But then after that is where I'm kind of looking because they have the Ravens at home, so I don't know like and then Jags on the road, Lions at
Massive game.
home. And between those four, they really need to go 3-1 because yeah,
Yeah,
they'll probably beat the Giants and Jags, but then they need to beat one of the Lions or Ravens because if they want to get Rasheed Rice back and they're sitting at 3-3, then they can make a bit of a charge. But if you're slipping to 1-5 or 2-4,
2 and 4.
after you're in a difficult position there. And then after that, Raiders at home, winnable, but then Commanders at home and Bills on the road. Like
Yeah,
it's not an easy. I think they'll
far
eke
from an
out.
easy schedule.
Yeah, they'll eke out some close games, and they'll do what they do as usual. But if they lose to the Giants, it's over. If they lose to the Giants
Mm.
this weekend, their season is done because that'll tell me all I need to know about them. And it is a get right game. Hollywood Brown, 129 yards through two games. Kelsey 108, Tyquan Thornton 100. It's not exactly your big three of receivers that they were hoping
No,
for with an
no.
old Kelsey and two guys who are probably wide receiver three or fours on most teams. So the sooner the better to get Rashid and Worthy back from injury as well. But I'm worried about them. I don't know. I'm not there yet. And if they beat up on the Giants, I'll still be worried about them. It's after that
Yeah.
run, after this, that's going to see what their metal is really, what they're made of.
Yeah, I think the big thing is you don't go from winning 17 one-score games in a row to losing every single one you're in for the next season. Like that just isn't going to happen. As you said, I do think they leak out a couple of close games. I think the Ravens will be a very close game. I think they leak it out in the last quarter. The Lions, geez, that could be any score. Like when you look at the Lions last week, they really look back to their best after week one. 52-21. Amon-Ra St. Brown was like the Amon-Ra St. Brown of last year. Again, he was just unbelievable. Like so, if when is Rasheed Rice not back for that? Is he? That's game. No, he's not. He wouldn't be
He'll be
back.
back for
Yes.
week 7, so that'll be
Yeah.
the game against
The
the
Commanders game.
Raiders at home.
Oh, Raiders is game 7, sorry. Yeah. So, yeah. So missing him for the Lions game is big. And that's the game where he really will have to trust his core receivers because you can easily put 30 up on the Lions, but they can very easily put 50 up on you at the same time.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's a game that will really tell a lot about him, both defensively and offensively.
yeah. No, I agree with that. That's a big one for them. I'll have that one circled. Now
Yeah.
they're gonna need to deal with the Giants and Jags first, but I think they
Yeah,
will do it.
definitely.
Then another team who's had a poor start in terms of the wins column is the Texans. I expected a lot of them. I had them get into the AFC Championship game. Now, I still think that they're going to be absolutely fine. I'm more confident on them than I am on the Chiefs because, yes, they only had 28 points in the opening 2 games, but their run game has been stifled and Stroud has been under a lot of pressure. I think with the new offensive coordinator, he's allowed Stroud to adjust the pressures on his own line before each snap. And I think it's proven to be too much for Stroud because
Mm.
he's allowing a lot of pressure. He looks like he's overthinking things and he looks a bit confused at times. So if the new coordinator can just take that call back himself and allow Stroud to just focus on what he's calling for him, I think that will definitely help. And 6 sacks and 1 touchdown so far, it doesn't come for good reading. I think they need to just strip it back, allow him to play his game, and the defense will take care of the rest because
Yeah.
they've been absolutely brilliant. They've probably been the best in the league, and they had 2 wins to be honest against the Rams and the Bucks. They should have won both of those games. They were better than the Bucks for the majority of the game. Stroud just couldn't get it done, and the Rams a similar story. So once they can sort that out, I think they'll be fine because looking at the teams they have to play, it's a lot easier than the Chiefs because right now they're getting the Jags on the road and the Titans at home. It's just the division they're in. They have a lot more easy games than other teams, and I think they'll get back to 2-2 after these two.
Yeah, I think they have to get back to 2-2 from the next two. I think they have to beat the Jags and the Titans. There's no excuses. Nico Collins, 3 catches
Yeah.
for 52 yards and a touchdown at the weekend. He looked more like himself, but that 3 catches needs to be 9, 10, or 11 catches. Like they
And
really
it's
need
being
to lean on
forced to
him
him as
so
well.
heavily. Sorry?
It's being forced to him as well, it seems
Yeah, it
like.
is. Yeah. Yeah. So I just don't think he's another man who doesn't trust his receivers either. And at some point, like this is what you have. So you do need to trust him. You can't do it all yourself. You can't do it all with one man. You need to be able to trust a second and a third choice man as well to catch the ball and make plays for
Mm.
you. I thought they were okay against the Rams as well, but just never got going. He couldn't find a pass to save his life. If he was still throwing that game today, he still wouldn't have thrown a touchdown in that match with the way things were going. Like so,
Yeah.
they were good against the Bucks, and they were caught on a sucker on that. Their next two, yeah, we just said they have to win the Jags and Titans. Then they have the Ravens is another. They're both going into the Ravens with massive tests and back to back weeks. So we'll see how they get on in those two, but it's mad that we're completely opposite in this because I'm more worried about the Texans than the Chiefs, and you're more worried about the Chiefs than the Texans. But I do think both will eventually be okay. It's just taking them a bit longer.
It's just like the fact that usually we might only get one team that turns it around from 0-2. So I'm
Yeah,
thinking both could do it, but it's a little bit more unlikely. I just think that the Chiefs have a much more difficult schedule coming up. And yeah, that's where I find it hard because I think the Texans can get right a lot easier than the Chiefs can. And I think they've showed they played 2 teams that are very strong, as did the Chiefs, so it's kind of hard to weigh up both because you're after seeing like both teams being taken down by very good teams. So it is quite hard. We could see both bounce back, but yeah, I'm still of the opinion that the Texans are okay. But I think we're both kind of on that boat that they're going to be okay. But I did mention in my notes when I was looking at it, Nico Collins 77 yards through 2 games, and
yeah,
he only had 6 catches on 14 targets. Now all those targets weren't exactly amazing throws, but you would expect a higher conversion rate from the number one guy, and you would expect the two of them to be on a better page. But that also comes from the pressure on the quarterback. So let's see if they can turn it around against the Jags. I think they will.
yeah. And there's also 3 teams who are going to come back from 0-2 because the Jets are still getting to
Oh
that
yeah,
playoff.
true. And the
Don't
Giants, we might as well
forget.
make it four, sure.
No, no,
Uh,
let's not be ridiculous now. The Giants are going nowhere. The Jets, Tyrod Taylor this weekend, 370
oh
yards,
my God.
easy. Here we
No, you
go.
want to get that from Russ. I'm on
Yeah.
450 yards. Here we go. And we still lose. But anyway,
Oh, shocking.
after last week, then we had Gunshans come back, obviously. So I had one win. Shane had a duck egg
A duck
first
egg.
week. A big zero. I had the Seahawks to beat the Steelers. I was so close to having two wins. Somehow Jake Browning, throwing three interceptions,
Yeah.
still managed to come back and beat the Trevor Lawrence led Jags. That told me all I needed to know about the Jags, and they are on my banned list. I'm never ever picking them again because I just don't trust them even in the slightest. So that's them gone out of my list. I'm gonna throw out my picks first for this weekend. I teased one already. That is a team that I think could be a bit of an underdog here if you're looking at a last man standing. I fancy Brentford to go into Fulham and get a result. Fulham are evens and Brentford are 14 to 5. I think that, we talked about Brentford, what they did to Chelsea, what they've done in the cup. I think that they're well able and I think they could go in and get a result here against Fulham. Then my two other picks are both NFL picks. First one is the Texans. We just talked about them. I can't believe that the Jags are money on favorites against them. I just said I'd never pick the Jags, so I'm going against the Jags this week. 11 to 10 on the Texans there. And then the third one is the Rams to beat the Eagles. I haven't been impressed by the Eagles so far. They did get two wins, but they've been incredibly boring to watch. I think the officials are going to be hot on the tush push and calling offsides and false starts on it this weekend after all the coverage it got after last weekend. So I think I'm going to pick the Rams here. They almost took them down last year in the playoffs, and I really like what the Rams have done so far. I think they're just a really solid team, and Stafford is not going to go down without a fight anytime soon. So those are my three. And if you do fancy all three, the three of them are 20 to 1 put together. So
We're back to the usual stuff that ended last season because I have two of the same of yours. Um, I also have the Rams at the Eagles. I 6 to 4. I had them at.
yeah,
I
around
have
the same.
Brentford to be. I have Brentford to be Fulham as well, but I wasn't confident enough to go with them in the last man standing. And I have the Broncos at 5 to 4 to beat the Chargers.
Okay.
I thought
That's
The Broncos looked a lot better last year. As I said, the Premier League was near impossible to call, so I had to put one in here that I wasn't overly confident about, and I wasn't backing the Jets again after last week, so I did go with the Broncos. I think it's going to be a great game, the Broncos and the Chargers. I think it's two good teams. I think they'll be very evenly matched, and hopefully the Broncos can get over the line for me.
Yeah, I think that the Broncos do need to bounce back in this one too because although they did win last week, or they won, sorry, in week one last week,
Yeah,
they had a sucker punch of a loss, and that needs a big bounce back. So, yeah, Chargers will really see as well if they're going to be able to take down another big defense after having done it to
mm.
the Chiefs in week one. So, really interesting divisional game. So those are our picks for this week. Let's move on then to the NBA and continue our previews as we've been doing. We've got through all of the Eastern Conference teams now. They're all done, so we're halfway through the league. Let's move on to the West, and we will start with last year's winners of the NBA, winner of the Larry O'Brien Trophy, the Oklahoma City Thunder. So we've got where do they need to improve most from last season to start?
So in the playoffs, their 3 point shooting dropped to 33.8%. Massive drop off from what they were doing in the regular season. They really need to keep that up this year if they are hoping to go back to back. So basically, their 3 point shooting consistency really does need to get a lot better, especially in the postseason this year coming. If they get to the postseason, we'll see.
I think you can nail that one on fairly quickly, but yeah, that's a great point. I couldn't believe how bad it was, and the fact that they still won, and they won
Yeah.
like a couple of series quite comfortably, shooting the ball horribly, especially against the Timberwolves. That was crazy. But what I went with, the only thing they can improve upon is improve upon how other teams have gone after winning a chip recently. They need to back it up now in a big way and do the thing that teams have failed to do for a number of years and get a back to back. Outside of that, I don't see what else they can improve upon. Obviously, you made a good point there, but they still managed to win through that. So I just want to see them do the thing now that teams haven't done for a long time and kind of prove what they can do even at a very young age. Because I think that I like what they've built and I like the setup.
Yeah.
And I would like, if anyone could go back to back outside of my own team in the Sixers, it would be I would like to see the Thunder do it. So looking at a player under the radar then that you like for the team, who did you go for on this?
Yeah, so I had to kind of cheat on this, and to be perfectly honest, because I don't think anyone really goes under the radar in the team that won the championship. But the one who I felt was the most underappreciated last year among all the stars was Chet Holmgren.
Okay.
Um, I just think so. Like when he's healthy, he's just everything he has is just brilliant. He offers shots. His length is incredible. His just ability in general is just absolutely class, and he just keeps getting better at shooting every single year that goes on. I think when Joe, when you're surrounded by so many stars, it's like very easy to get forgotten, and I just don't think he should be forgotten about.
Yeah, no, I like that shout, and I thought he was really good in the finals as well with,
Mm.
some of the defensive plays that he made. I think, yeah, some of the blocks he made, he was incredible. So that's a good shout because he doesn't get as much flowers as he should. I went with Cason Wallace. I think he's the most under the radar out of everybody who plays consistently for them. I really like him. He's only 22 years of age. He may be the long term replacement for Lou Dort because they're going to have to pay him in 2027, 28. So if
Yeah,
that rolls around, they've got kind of a guy who's an excellent defender and he's trying to improve on his 3 point shot. Now that does need to step up if he wants to replace what Dort gave them last year, who wasn't consistent before, but last year his three was quite good. Last year he started 43 games, 27 minutes per game. He gave 8.5 points, 3.5 boards, and nearly 2 assists per game or 2 steals per game. Sorry. His hands are everywhere. He's an incredible part of the defense. They've got so many good defenders, but I think appearing in 23 playoff games and starting three last year at a very young age is definitely going to stand to him. And if he
yeah,
just improves the 3 point percentage, he'll be that long term replacement for Dort, in my opinion. But yeah, I really like him already, and I think he'll continue to kind of contribute massively to this team. And if he's not there in the future, he'll be brilliant for somebody else that'll pay him a whole lot of money. So that's my pick. Looking at the over under wins, then it's 62.5 is very, very high. Last year it was 68, 57 the year before, and both years they finished in the one seed. I think this line has been set exactly in the middle of their last 2 years on purpose, just to
yeah,
make it really tough, because both years they got the one seed. I'll just say that they're going to get just about under. It's very, very high. They've just won the championship. I don't think they'll put as much kind of emphasis on the regular season. I think they'll win just enough as they need to get to that one seed in their eyes. And that'll just get around 60, 61. I don't see them getting above 62.5, even though they have the ability to do it. I just don't think the necessity is there.
yeah. I wonder as well. I think 58 to 60 will be absolutely fine for him. It's just they went on runs last year where they were just unstoppable, and that's how they got to 68 games. I don't see that happening again this year. A lot of teams around them have strengthened again. We know this is a far stronger division than the other side is, so I think yeah, 58 to 60, and I think they will get the two seed because the Rockets are going all the way.
Yeah, I actually wouldn't be surprised if the Rockets got the one seed now. I
Mm.
really like what they've done, as we kind of talked about in the off season. They've done this perfectly, but that'll be an interesting talking point when we do our full season predictions over who's
Yeah,
going to come on top there. And then the ceiling with the current roster and coach for the season ahead, I'm going to go championship, and they're
back
the
to
best
back.
team
Yeah,
in the league
same.
without a doubt, and they're the favourites again
Hmm.
this year, like 14-5 there. So I was proud of my pick on them last year because they were a little bit under the radar in terms of what they are now. So I think if I pick them again this year, I'm just going chalk. So I'm going to have to go somewhere else. But yeah, I do see them getting back there and winning it because they are the best overall roster.
Yeah, exact same.
Um,
Let's move on.
yeah, Blazers then. Where do they need to improve most from last season?
Their transition game, both offensively and defensively. They were middle of the league in pace and fast break points last year. Conceded a lot of fast break points as well, so they really need to sort that out coming into this year if they're going to have any hope of doing anything that even resembles having a good season.
Yeah, mine ties in with that a little bit. I've gone with they need to be better connected as an offense.
Mm.
They had one of the lowest assist numbers in the league with 23.8 per game. It's fine if you have low numbers, if you have a very good isolation scorer or you are very effective on fast break. But as you've mentioned, they did cause a lot of turnovers, but they weren't able to be effective with it, and that brought the assist numbers down. So just be more efficient. you can't just continue to rely on low scoring games and your defense
Yeah,
when you don't really have a whole lot of offense. But I do think that bringing in Drew Holiday is massive for this because he's the king of, knowing what to do when you turn the ball over and being smart and contributing with the teammates and kind of fostering a good culture. So I think that was a really good
yeah,
move. And yeah, that's going to
yeah.
help.
I did look at that as well. 24 assists a game is probably only 50 points that you're getting off actual good attacking play. The rest is kind of just hopeful shots up or someone just driving coast to coast. That's not a conducive way of winning any sort of amount of games. So they really do need to improve that, definitely.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Looking at a player under the radar, I'll give mine first. Someone I really, really like is Tamani Kamara. I think he's an absolute dog on their defense. Last year, he was really important as well. He did put up some points, but in general, his defensive work, it got him second all defense team last year, only in his second year in the league. 52nd overall pick in 2023 is an absolute steal. So I think he was really excellent. 78 starts already, 11 points per game, 6 boards, and 2 steals and blocks combined. And for someone who's so tough physically and handsy and gets stuck in and is a very capable defender, only 3 fouls per game is very impressive. So he clearly knows exactly what he's doing and he's able to control what he needs to do at times. So if he can continue to be improving on his offensive side, his defense is already where it needs to be. So I think he's one for the future for them, and he's on a very, very low contract since they got him in the second round.
Yeah, so because I went so heavy in on the first time, I'm going with Chet Holmgren. I've gone for one that's really under the radar here as well. I've gone for Donovan Clingan.
I
So he
like
had a
that.
really solid rookie year last year, 37 starts, 67 appearances, 6.5 points a game, and just under 20 minutes a game. So he had a really, really good rookie year, especially in a team that wasn't really passing the ball, as we just talked about there a couple of minutes ago. The one thing he really needs to improve is his free throws and his tree shot, both in the 50s. So it's 53.9% for his tree and 59.6 for his free throws. So that
Wait,
really
his
does
three
need
is
to,
53.9.
yeah,
Boy, that is great. That is unbelievable. How much better can he get from
yeah,
that?
from tree.
Oh, his three is 28.6%. There he is. His field goal percentage is 53.9.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, his tree. Yeah,
I
that's
was
what I meant.
thinking,
Sorry. His tree
Jesus.
is, yeah, 28. Yeah.
I was thinking if
Yeah,
he
his
had
tree was
a
28.
53% 3 point, that would be
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Sorry. Yeah. So, yeah, his 3 point was 28.8 and
Yeah,
his
that's really
free
bad.
throws was 59.6.
Oh my
Needs to
God.
improve on the free throws in particular and maybe get another couple of starts under his belt. Oh, hang
Yeah,
on. Sorry.
those free throws are horrendous as well. My God. But I was impressed as well with him on the offensive boards. I thought he was, or on the boards in general, I thought he was very good for a rookie to be able to use his size effectively. 8 rebounds
Hmm.
per game is quite impressive. He was somebody that I was actually thinking about picking before I went with Kamara. Then looking at their over under wins, 34 and a half. Now last year they had 21, the worst in the West, but they did tank. I thought when they played earlier in the season, they were actually quite impressive at times, and then they just went into pure tanking mode after that. I think it is a huge jump, but I think it's one they can take, to be honest. I really like what they've done getting in Drew Holiday. Although Dame probably won't play for most of the year, they've got another veteran in there. He's back home. I think they'll get another jump from Tamani. Donovan Clingan is someone who's going to take a jump, and then Scoot and Shade and Sharp are also players that need to jump. And I think they will with more veterans around them, and they've still got Jeremy Grant. So I think to get 35 wins is well within the realm of this team, and I'm going to take it as an over.
I've gone just under. I do like what they've done as well, but I don't like teams having to jump up 13 or 14 wins
Yeah,
to get to the line they've been set. I just can't. I can't back it on anyone. I don't care who it is. I just can't see it. I was the same with the 76ers when we spoke about them a couple of weeks back. I don't see them making these massive jumps. I think they'll get over 30, but I think even adding 9 wins or 10 wins is really impressive. And I do think they'll have a good season, especially what they did last year.
yeah, I agree with you there, and I think that was one thing that was putting me off. But the only time that I kind of look to that as something that can be overcome, a big jump in wins, is just when a team doesn't tank anymore, because you're
Mm.
just throwing wins away at times. So I think that might be something for it. But the West is very tough. So looking at the ceiling, then for the roster and coach for the season ahead, what did you go for?
So their ceiling is a play-in. On the chance that they do go over like you think they will, they get into a play-in, they could win a play-in and then lose in the first round of the playoffs. I don't think they go don't need to go anywhere deep. They just really need to stay healthy, and the young players they have need to develop a good bit.
Yeah, I think I had the same of them getting to a plane. I didn't actually have them winning in it and getting into a first round. I don't think they're there yet, but similar enough, I think they could get to a plane standings if things go well for them and they get 39, 40 wins with a big jump. But moving on then to our last team of the day is the Minnesota Timberwolves. So where do they need to improve most from last season?
You can go first on this one. I've gone first the other two, so we'll
Okay,
let you
I'll
take
go
over here.
first. I I think it's time now for them to close out on the big stage. They've improved. I think both of their last two seasons were a massive improvement on what happened before. At times, the offense does go a little bit stagnant in big games when Ant can't get it going, but I was really impressed with Randall in the playoffs this year. He's known for kind of crashing out in the playoffs before he went to the Timberwolves, and now that completely switched. I think they'll build on that, but the biggest challenge for them and the biggest thing they can improve on is getting to the finals. They need to get by that kind of Western Conference final point. They've lost 4-1 in both of the last 2 years at that point. So that's the main thing for them, just having that ability to close out against teams that other people would probably see as superior. They need to make themselves the superior team and do it this year.
Yeah, especially like against the Thunder this year, they were quite poor in all. Even the game they won, they were poor enough. And I think the first game it was over at the half was it either the first game or the second game they were absolutely annihilated.
Yeah,
And
yeah, there was a
after
couple of
what they
games
did
there.
in yeah, after what they did in the regular season to go out and put up that must have been really disappointing. Kind of on the back of that, I'd gone with their defense regressed a good bit over the season. So they were elite defensively for most of the season, and then when it came to playoff time, they weren't protecting the paint. They weren't getting defensive rebounds. They need to just keep that consistently up for the whole season, especially if they are going to have any hope of going in against the Thunder or any whoever gets the one seed there and doing anything decent.
Yeah, yeah, I think I actually like their defense a lot, and I
Yeah,
think that just in general the way that they were able to maintain control in a lot of games. They just need to push it now because they've got Ant. He is one of the best players in the league, but they just need to push it beyond what they've done already, I think. So looking at someone who's under the radar, I've actually kind of gone similar to what you did with the Thunder because just somebody who I think doesn't get enough love, even though they get a lot, is Naz Reid. He's not under
I
the
was going to
radar.
ask you if I could guess. Yeah, I was going to ask if I
Yeah,
could guess because I have the same fella as well. I was going to when you
yeah.
said that I was like it's definitely Nazarene he's gone with.
I think he's unbelievable. Just what he
Mm,
offers them is above and beyond. I think he's better than everyone else on the team, bar Ant, in my opinion, just in what he offers to them. Sixth man of the year in 2024. To be honest, last year he was even better. He could have won it again. It's just they usually don't give that to somebody. They don't give many things to people back to back
back to back,
anymore.
yeah.
So most minutes per game last season he's ever had 27.5, 14 points per game, 6 boards, 1.6 steals and blocks. And for a big man, he shoots 38% from 3 on 6 attempts. That is not bad at all. He's somebody who you can rely upon in big moments. He showed it in the playoffs the last few years. So I really like him and I think he's a massive part of their team. I'm happy that they sorted that out and paid him this offseason and locked him in for the future.
Yeah, so he just doesn't get the headlines that Anthony Edwards gets, that Rudy Gobert gets, and he really does deserve them. You've laid out everything he did last year, six man of the year, incredible again last year. I just think he's so important to what they do. In everything they do, he is so important. He just builds up so much of what they do when he is on the court. And you do notice him when he is off the court as well, which is why I am surprised he's probably not pushing more to be in their starting five, but their team is just so strong as well that it is
I,
really hard to get
yeah,
him in there.
I think the thing with that is just how they kind of rely upon him to help with the bench unit. And then he comes in as the first guy off the bench. And then as
Yeah.
players whittle off, he's still there and kind of providing that stability. So I think that's kind of the main reason that they do that. Not that he's not as good as others. I think that's probably why. Looking at their over under wins then, 49 and a half. right on the mark from last year. They had 49. What do you think for this?
Just under. I think 48 to 40, sorry, 47 to 49. I was going to say 48 to 50 without put them over. 47 to 49. They'll be in around the same as they were last year. They'll have no problem making the playoffs again. Yeah, I think it's a really, really good line. It's so hard to pick it. They could very easily hit 50 plus, but I'm just a bit cautious on them.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the year before when they had 56. Um, I think they can get closer to that once again because I think they know that they're going to need a pretty high seed. They want to have a home playoff series, home court advantage for as long as they can. And there's a lot of good teams in the West at the moment. Obviously, the Lakers will be hoping to take a jump. The Clippers are looking very, very good. They were good in the offseason. The Warriors will be looking to get another season of Jimmy and Steph back together. And then that's not to mention the guys who will probably be around the top at the Nuggets, Rockets, and and Thunder. So I
Under,
think
yeah.
they're going to need to really push in the regular season. And I think they're just going to try and get as many as they can and get a good streak going. So I think they're going to get around 51, 52. So I'm going to take the over. But it's a really good mark here. I think it could go either way. And it's definitely not something I'd be betting on. Then looking at the ceiling with the current roster and coach for the season ahead, what did you go for?
So you just mentioned it there. I think their ceiling is a top four and a really, really deep playoff run to the conference finals again. Um, can they get over the line? I'm just not convinced they can beat OKC or the Nuggets if it does get there. I can tell by your face you have them as a finals pick here anyway, but no, I don't have them as a finals pick. Not this time around.
Yeah, I think they can win it. I
Really?
think, yeah, getting to the Western Conference Finals 2 years in a row. Like, neither I know that the OKC did it last year. They got there, they won the whole thing. The year before the Mavs beat them. But neither of those teams did it in 2 years in a row. They've done it. They're consistent. A very different team this time around as well with Randall instead of Cat. I think they paid who they needed to pay. They've brought Randall back. They obviously like what he's got going on there with Ant. And I think just looking in general, looking through their squad list here, Edwards, Gobert, Randall, Jaden McDaniels, unbelievable defender. Nasri, Dante DiVincenzo, who I like as well. Rob Dillingham will probably take a jump. They're definitely hoping that Terrence Shannon will take a jump, and then Mike Conley in the background as a kind of a veteran. I think they have a very condensed but very good squad, and I think if they keep everybody healthy and they gel, there's no reason why they can't win it with Ant leading them. Now, do I think they'll win it? You'll have to find out in our full NBA season preview, but I think that is a ceiling for them. I think I can see them getting there. So, yeah, that's my take on that one. Let's see. Let's
Yeah,
see how it goes. Long season ahead. But
it is far too long.
yeah, incredible amount of games. They need to cut that one down. But look, we're not complaining about it when it does get around to like
Yeah,
May
exactly.
and we
Yeah.
have the playoffs and everything else is done. So let's keep it for now the way it is, unless they want to start the season later and then keep going into the summer because we enjoy that over here when we having a whole lot else going. But looking then at our last point of the day, the power rankings. I went first last week, so I'll let you take the reins and go ahead this week first.
Yeah, I just like to question the rules before I go with mine here. Are we allowed to do a 4 and 2 split, or are we saying we have to go 3 and 3?
I think let's go 3-3 because we done 2-2-2 when the NBA comes back. So I think
Grant.
we just keep it consistent.
Grant. So last week I had Liverpool, Bills, Chelsea, Everton, Eagles, and Packers.
Hmm.
This week I have Liverpool remain top. I hope they can keep scoring 80 plus minute winners for the whole season and win every game because it's heart wrenching and funny at the same time. I've gone with the Chargers in second. I just really like what they're
Oh
doing.
well.
I think Justin Herbert has been exceptional in the opening two games. They look like they're having fun, and the power rankings is a bit about teams who are having fun as well as teams who are really, really good. So they're second for me. I have the Packers at three. Again, another team who are having a lot of fun and really like them. They're really far better than I expected them to be. I have Arsenal at four, just because they have to, unfortunately. The Bills at five. Pains me to put them in there, but they're really, really
Yes.
good. Josh Allen is a freak. They're absolutely unbelievable. And finally, I have Man City at six. Um, it was really hard to pick three Premier League teams. That's why I wanted to go 4-2 split. But Man City were really good at the weekend. We'll just see if they can back it up this weekend now.
Out of interest, who would have been your fourth NFL team?
The Eagles after beating the Chiefs.
Yeah, I just think what you've done there on that is absolutely outrageous to drop the Eagles. Like, as I mentioned last week, I will continue to leave Liverpool and Eagles at the top because they won the competition last year and they're both still unbeaten. So it's a toss up over which one is more powerful out of the two. And it's Liverpool right now because the Eagles aren't great to watch, but like they
Mm.
haven't lost and they just came off the Super Bowl. So
I know,
I'm
but they're like I dropped them out because they're not fun to watch. The other three are fun to watch at least.
But there
So
was
the
times
Eagles
there
just
last
are
year
annoying.
where Liverpool were not fun to watch at times, and we still had to win
That was
because.
last year. That was last
Oh
year.
my god,
I'm not very sentimental when it comes to this. If
the
they don't
power
start
rankings police are going to be
being
on
fun,
you. They're going to be on you.
they
I'm
can
calling them.
do what they want. They know where I live, I'm sure.
So I'm going to go with mine from
Liverpool
last week.
Eagles.
Yeah, that's the start. But last
Yeah.
week I had Liverpool Eagles to start as well. I had Bills, Chelsea, Packers, and Palace. This week I've gone
This year.
Liverpool. I've moved the Packers up then to third because I think they looked exceptional and they've beaten two very good teams, so they're moving up for me. That means the Bills moved down a spot to fourth. They absolutely waxed the Jets in second gear, so can't move them off with that one. Then next up, I've gone with Spurs in fifth. I thought they've been very impressive this year. They've only conceded one goal. They've lost only to Bournemouth this year, who look impressive themselves,
Oh,
and
unreal.
they did well in the Champions League as well to eke out a win, even though it wasn't a very pretty watch. They still managed to do it. And then sixth is the aforementioned Bournemouth. The only reason I have them lower is because they weren't impressive in the cup. And yeah, I think Spurs have been more consistent over the last like 3 weeks, but before that, Bournemouth did beat them. They've looked very impressive throughout the season. So that's my six: Liverpool, Eagles, Packers, Bills, Spurs, and Bournemouth.
I actually wish I put Bournemouth in instead of Man City because they're having a lot more fun than Man City are. But we have next week to fix it.
Yeah, we have next week. Yeah, let's see how we get there, and we'll probably still we better see the Eagles back on there if they win this weekend. I'm telling you that. But let's
We'll
see.
see if
Let's
they go
see.
out and win 9 points to three or something. They're going nowhere near us. They
If
won't
they
even be in my
win,
top 32 in the power ranking. Then
if they win three
forget
nil
about
in
it.
overtime, they're getting back up to my one spot. But thanks again, lads, for listening for another week. We really appreciate it. All that good stuff of liking and subscribing, you already know by now, so we'd appreciate it if you could do it because it makes a difference, as we mentioned. But yeah, throw it to you, Shane, to say your goodbyes.
Yeah, just echo what James said. Just keep following along. We're starting to post more on Twitter as well, so we're trying to do one a day. If you go over and give us a follow over there as well, and just repost what we're doing. We're just kind of just we're bringing ideas together every week, just trying to get better and better. And we really appreciate the support. So we'll see you next week. Thank you very much.
See you next week, lads.